Lovely to see everybody. And welcome to our Q&A open forum, which is an opportunity to come with questions, tap into the wisdom of amazing house healers doing fantastic work. We thought to kind of focus us, but that doesn't mean to say to constrain us, but to focus us, Melanie and I thought it might be good to have a good conversation about how do we deal with those tricky customer clients, those that are hard to pin down, just difficult to kind of contract with, just kind of get set up. And how do we deal with that? And how do we manage those clients through the process and make sure that we kind of keep our boundaries in all of that? Because for the most part, my clients are pretty good, but sometimes I get a live one that's really hard to manage and kind of tests my boundaries. And sometimes I'm successful at managing that, and sometimes I'm not, and I kind of walk away thinking, "Oh, should have seen that one coming." So we thought that might be a good topic to have a conversation of. Hi, Susan. How are you?
I'm struggling. Sorry, I've just
Struggling with
moved.
the heat. Oh, you're moving as well.
I have moved,
You've
but
moved.
everything was still not working quite right.
Oh my goodness. Well, we're glad that you're here and glad that you found a soft spot to move to because I know the last time we spoke, you were kind of just
Oh,
trying to find somewhere. So that is good news indeed.
yes,
Um,
indeed.
so that's what we thought we'd start with, those tricky customers. I mean, show of hands, how many of us have had, a bit of a tricky client to try and navigate? Few of us, yeah. So, who wants to start? Have you got a client in mind that you want to talk about and kind of discuss strategies that we can all jump in and have a little have a little combo about it?
I can start, I suppose. My most recent one, and I think Blossom will know who I'm talking about. Uh, she's smiling. This lady, I think she had some problems, and I did find some things going on, but I found that she'd had an attachment that was within her auric field, and she had some. There were some water veins which are pretty heavy duty in her house. And if you've got water veins hanging around the house, that can cause other problems, things moving around. Um, but it was mainly this attachment that I found. And the lady thought that she had a male attachment, but I found it was a female. And the story I had on the female was this woman had died during the 1950s, I believe, and has typically managed to latch onto this other woman, older lady, and she took her home basically. And this is about 4 years ago or there and about. And I asked this woman, and because obviously I like to ask questions to find out more about the attachment before I start moving them on. And I found this was an attachment of a female, but she had been brought up in an abusive relationship with her husband. And I don't think that was him that actually killed her, but I think she died through accident. Um, but she became very protective of this little old lady. And I suppose I believe that she had other problems with other healers. She'd had mediums around the house. She'd had priests in the house, all sorts of things that were meant to be moving this thing on. But she was adamant there was a man, but I believe it was a female. But the female was giving off some pretty masculine vibes. I think to put people away from her. But we had trouble trying to shift this. And I just get to think now, I suppose we're a little while up the road now. And I mean, she did pay me. after all of this. But I ended up with she wouldn't have it. It had gone, and I know it had gone. I even had confirmation that it had gone, and the house was settling down. But she still stuck with all my glasses and moving from one place to another. My TV turns itself on and off. My computers, my computer is not listening. I'll press go and it doesn't do it, and all this sort of stuff was going on. And I suppose I healed everything. I even, because she was talking about her computer and how it kept messing her around, I even checked for technopathic stress, healed that. I even I even got to a point of doing what I'd class as like a psychic wall around her house, around the building, to stop anything even trying to enter the house. I put it on there for a month so she'd sort of get some peace. But I actually heard from her, and she seemed to think there's constantly, it all goes quiet, then up pops this mystery male entity and does things around the house. And I suppose in a way, because it seemed like whatever you'd done, you weren't going to get it right. And I just feel as though after dousing her, just checking her out, I think that she's, let's say, I suppose in a way I liken to her like an addict. She'd got this thing that was attached to her, been with her for a number of years, and she quite liked it. And there was a good excuse to, I don't know, maybe draw attention to herself. And after a conversation I had with her the other day, because I actually spoke to her again, and I told her about moving the technopathic stress, and this is what set me in motion with this. I was talking about I'd sorted out her technopathic stress and done this psychic wall, and she said, "Ah, good, because I've been talking to husband number 5, and his wife doesn't like me talking to him, and maybe I can stop her interfering in whatever conversation she was having." And I was like, husband number 5. So I just think to myself, she was a bit of this thing, she just liked to have it. And she felt that she could benefit from it. So whatever I was going to do wasn't going to fix it, not spiritually. And I thought, well, maybe she should see a therapist that might help her. But how do you approach somebody and tell her, a little old lady who's a lot older than me, that she might need other help? So there, that's thrown it out.
Well, a lot to unpack there. I see, Melanie, you've got your hand up waiting patiently.
Thank you, Nick. I mean, we've discussed her many times,
Yeah.
haven't we? And so
Yeah.
have Blossom and I, because she was
Yeah.
passed on from Adrian, and
That's
I
right.
approached Blossom, and Blossom, I mean, you're very professional, and she led you a merry chase, didn't she? When you were talking to her, she was very difficult to deal with, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was difficult. Yeah. And it's like Neil said, whatever you do, you could see it in the emails already. If you would not completely agree to whatever she tells you she thinks she has, it would be wrong. And
Yeah.
that's the point where I said I can't do it, because I didn't douse anything for her, but the first impression for me that it's something from the land. It's some earth energies, water veins or something that would affect her. And that was my first impression. And I thought that male ghost that she talked about, it's just not there.
I couldn't find it either. When I looked, I couldn't find a
No.
mail either. I doused,
No.
because I got her first and got all the information, and then I passed it on to you. And I was getting these endless emails about everything. And it was just, she just doesn't stop. Was it 8-page A4 things? Yeah, we
Yeah.
got, it just kept coming. I could think, okay. And I warned you. And then,
Mhm.
and then you decided that was it. And then Neil was very brave and took her on, so thank you. But I mean, you had an awful lot of going on at home anyway, didn't you? So that's by the by.
That's
But
ongoing. But I must admit,
isn't the whole. She's not the whole. Is it one sandwich? No, that sounds weird. She's not completely with it, and I think she's lonely as well. You
I
get these
think it's a
people.
lot of her problem. And this
Yeah.
gave her because she was in within circles. She goes to this circle,
Spiritualists.
this
Yeah, yeah,
found
she
a
told me
medium
about
thing
spiritualists. Yeah.
and all the rest of it. But I got a thing here from her last night, and she tells me that this Fred is still here. It's because
Mm.
we went from being a female back to Fred.
Yeah, which is what she
It
told
was sort of
both of
one,
us as well.
and she was trying to arrange for tickets to go to Prague to spend time with her son. And she says, "Yeah," and I must admit, in a way, it's a bit of an opt out for me. So, and she says, "You've thrown the book at him to no avail. Maybe without any disrespect to you, another person may have a different approach."
No,
So she's
I told
looking.
her that there was only so much we could do because I knew I've met people like this before. And first of all, you try and see if there's something really there. And as Blossom said, I couldn't find anything, you couldn't find anything. And an attachment is one thing, but it wasn't a spirit, even with all that water, was it? It's. Have you read? I remember a lady I mentioned to you, Sue Ellen.
Yes, I mean, halfway through the book.
Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? Dawn would have, you'd know Sue Ellen's book about spirit release. She actually says there's the one guy called Henry she talks about that he came to her with Henry. She got rid of Henry, and then he went to everyone else telling her Henry was still there, and it was definitely not. Nobody else could find him either. So it's almost like an issue
Egregore.
with their personality. Hmm?
Well, and we know that the human mind can create these
Of
personalities
course.
and they become very real. And I think potentially that might be what's going on for her, even to the point where it's interacting, physically in the location as well. And you could neutralize that as much as you want, but she's going to recreate it just through her kind of, the psychic energy that she's putting out. And I think they are tricky clients because one, they shop around to everybody. I mean, I had a client who had visited every psychic, every medium, every healer, and landed on a house healer's doorstep. And I had to say to her, stop going to psychics, stop going to mediums, live your life.
Mm.
I think I got away with things because she was Canadian and I was English. So kind of had a sense of authority because of that. So I was able to get away with being quite brutal with her on some things. But there is this just almost like an OCD desire to have your suspicions validated over
Yeah.
and over and over and over
I
again.
actually recommended this lady go to a doctor as well, and I said she need, and also I think she not only she's very deaf, isn't she, Neil?
She wasn't too bad.
Yeah, well,
She
she
was,
claimed to be really seriously deaf when I spoke to her, but I thought that I don't know how simple that is, but
but I
sorry.
think the way she had chatter going on, and you can pick that up if you've got the likes of things that are within your auric field, and that was sort of, and she said that the places go quiet now. So whatever was going on, I just get a feeling that she's just got this addiction and that she needs something to just work with, I suppose. And it's like having a sore foot. And I know with mental health, you'll have people that have got a problem and they'll have an itch. They might be on the hand or on their elbow. They'll find something just to, I don't know, just to take their mind off to think, oh, yeah, well, it must be down to this person or this thing that's causing me the problem. So I think whatever anybody like, say, any healer that goes anywhere near her, she'll come up with the same thing.
Yeah.
You could probably burn a house down to the ground. You could do all sorts of things to the ground, put new ground down there, rebuild it, and she'll still find something. Yeah.
Emma, I see you got your hand up and then Tabitha.
No words of wisdom, Neil, but you just mentioned it. It's mental health. And Dawn, is that what you call an egregore? An energy or an entity that
That's
you
one. That's a
is that
tulpa is
what they're
another word
called?
for it. There's lots of
Egregores.
Help forms.
yeah.
Okay, but like on a side note, I've dealt with a lot of people like this, and we used to call them repeat callers in the police. I was a police officer for 30 years before I retired 4 years ago, and we had a series of repeat callers, and it would be exactly the same thing, and they'd go through police officer after police officer, and we'd compile out reports, and then we would obviously be in touch with their medical sort of professionals, and you know, for a possible mental health assessment. But obviously that's well out of our remit as home healers, space clearers, and geomancers. But yeah, that they're really difficult people to not get rid of, but kind of manage. So,
Yeah.
but it's great that we're all aware, because you never know, one of us might get some kind of, you know, an approach from one such person, if not the same lady. So thanks for sort of flagging her up. Thank you.
I never knew you were a police officer. I love finding out everything
Oh,
about people. So thank you for
thank
sharing
you.
that.
I retired 4 years ago, so I did my 30 years.
Wow,
Yeah,
new life.
finished. Woo.
Uh, Tabitha and then Amy.
Hi there. Um, yeah, it's just everything everyone else has just said as well. But yeah, I think sometimes we're dealing with sort of people's beliefs as well. And I know from like experience, like what we believe kind of is definitely what is true for us, and like what we're seeing, what we're experiencing, and especially with energetic stuff. It's like what you believe is will be true for you, and especially like somebody else said, if you're kind of energizing that energy, or you keep attracting it, or I know when I had a spiritual awakening, if you like, years ago, over 20 years ago, that I was kind of inundated with spirits, and it's because I kind of thought it was almost like I had to just almost stop believing in it, even though it was real. It was like almost like I had to sort of change my reality, or where I stood with it as well. But yeah, I think it can be different as well. You obviously get people with different personalities, or have got mental health issues going on as well. But certainly, if someone is like adamantly believing in something and won't change their mind on what it is, then it can be difficult to coax them out of that belief, because everything that happens around them is gonna, they'll make it fit their belief of what's going on, if that makes sense, especially if it's kind of energetic stuff as well. So yeah, it sounds like it's difficult to deal with. If I've ever had, I'm trying to think if I did have someone who was difficult when I was running a group. A couple of times when I've done group things, I've had somebody it's really weird. People can be very different when they're one-to-one when you're working, but when you get into a group dynamic, it's like that group dynamic stuff kicks off. So I've had that a couple of times where I've had to kind of think, oh, that's interesting, this is going on, or people have been a bit odd to others, or rude to myself, or so. It's just been a bit odd, and I've had to manage that slightly. But I think if I get somebody one-to-one, usually have a really good chat with people first, so that I feel it out first, that it's right. And I haven't really had much of that, where people have been I haven't known what's going on, or they've been very difficult to deal with, fortunately. But yeah, that's
Thanks,
all really. Yeah.
Amy.
Well, thank you. I've just learned how to put the hand up on Zoom. Hooray, hooray for me. I was just going to say, I guess it's a bit like, it's interesting because it sounds like this has become her identity. And you said she goes to lots of circle groups and things like that. Did you say, Neil, that she likes to go? So even though she's on the face of it, I want to get rid of it, she doesn't really want to get rid of it, because it gives her something to do, something to talk about with, and go to those circles. It's a bit like people who don't really want to get well. And I've got a lady who she buys essences from me, and every time she buys them, she sends me an email then after placing the order. It's about that long of all the things going on for her physically, and I've just had to learn to step back from that. It's like I recognize that that's what she has to do to go along with, it's like her pattern. I have to tell everyone how sick I am, and how bad it is and how awful it is. And in order to protect myself also, so likewise with you, with the energy coming from this lady, I've had to just kind of step back and go, all right, that's just what you need to do,
You do so much.
Pardon? Yeah, yes, exactly. And if they want to be that person, like everyone has said, there's not a lot you can do about it, really.
Amy, when I was dealing with her initially, because I get them first, and
Okay.
I have to decide where they're going to go if they come in through the network, and everything she said was either dementia. She all these things about I put them down and they weren't there, and I mean my parents had dementia. They were always putting things down and forgetting where they put them. All the things she said to me was basically just that. And I said, well, maybe you should go and do the. Oh, I'm not going to go see the doctor. He put me away. She was terrified of the doctor. And I said about closing her aura, because you go to all these things. If they taught you how to close your crown chakra and close it down and open it up when you need to use it. Oh no, I'm no good. And she just wouldn't listen to anything. So you would get to this situation where like she doesn't want to be helped. Like as Neil said, she just wants to be listened to. And I think that's something we all have to kind of think, oh, is this the right person? Do we really want to help that? That's why I was very nervous giving her to Blossom, and I'd explained before, didn't I, that she was a difficult person to deal with. But forewarned is forearmed, and you always have, as Blossom did, you have the right to say, I don't want to do this. I'm sorry, this is not working for me. And I think that was really, really important that you did that, Blossom. I was really proud of you for doing that. Very important. And thank you for Neil for being brave. See you.
Just before I go to Joe, I just wanted to just pick up on something that you said there, Melanie, and that is the unscrupulous in this world of kind of metaphysics would see that and milk her for all that she has. And I think it's a testament to our ethics that we're identifying the line that we hold, and at what point do we step away because we can't help them. Now, we could see them every week and say, oh, he's a tricky one. He keeps coming back. We're gonna remove him again, and that would satisfy her in one way, but it's not ethically the right thing to do. So I'm glad that we're kind of all on the same page in terms of how we work ethically and professionally as well. Joe.
Yeah, I was just thinking about sort of being a passive participant within the house healing process. And quite often it's set up so that the people we are working with don't necessarily start actively doing their work. And I think she seems to be very passive in that process. And I guess I think, yeah, I don't know the hows, but the idea of like being able to enable people to work on their own journey is really important within our house healing. And when we talk about house healing, it's how much healing do we give? Because if you go to a doctor, I was just confused about it the other day, going, well, we don't actually I don't go to a doctor and expect every single thing that's wrong with me to suddenly be sorted. And I guess managing what we can actually offer and where that other person comes in. I've just been reflecting quite a lot on that recently as to, it's really nice to work with people who want to dive in and live their life with a bit of help. So yeah, I was just thinking about that a bit.
I think that's a really important point. And I was talking to Amy yesterday about, who are the healers? Are we the healers? Are we facilitating something? Are we the conduit for awakening something in another person? And I always, in my approach, there's work that I take to kind of harmonize the situation, but I also have a group of recommendations that I give to the client that's going to empower them to take control of the situation moving forwards, and I hold them to account on that. And should they not want to engage in that, then, not my circus, not my monkey.
I think it's important as well because people don't always know what's wrong. And by email, it's very hard to get that information. And some of them won't. I mean, she wouldn't Zoom. I tried to get her to Zoom. A lot of people will Zoom, and then you get an awful lot more information if you talk to somebody face to face. And I send out a survey and ask them and it has all these weird questions, which you and everyone here would know what I was asking, but a lot of people say, oh, I didn't really understand the questions, but all this stuff comes up, which you'd never understand. Questions that it's very hard to ask them, like, where does your cat sleep? Or do you have a cat? And all those silly things that we know about idiopathic stress. But sometimes it's very hard to judge people. And I think that's having almost like a way of approaching them. And they're actually saying, like, some people have said that, maybe this person isn't for me. And I've done that on several occasions because you recognize the kind of, as people have said, that there are some people, like Emma said, there's repeat customers and they've been through everybody. And I think that's something we all have to be aware of. We can't always help everyone. And that's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes it's better to refer them to a doctor. I tried to get your woman we're talking about, I won't mention her name, to go to a doctor, but she wouldn't. So, you can only it's a bit like a Jehovah's Witness. You can witness them, but then if they don't do anything, you can't make them do anything, can you? So you just have to understand that sometimes people don't, that's as much as they can do at the moment. Sorry.
And that's an important point around the consultation piece, around trying to understand what the client is dealing with and what their outcome, what outcome they're looking for, to see whether or not you're a fit and you can, you think that you can make a difference for them. And, when I started doing this many, many, many years ago, I think I was that grateful that a client came to me, that I would work with anyone. So I was kind of building my business. And now I think I feel confident enough to be a little bit choosy and to say, actually, this isn't for me. And this is showing my age, but I say to everybody, have a Rolodex. It's probably just a list in your cell phone now, but have a list of people that you trust that you could refer people onto, because not every client is a fit, is a fit for you, or you want to kind of, go, walk the path with them. So having people that you can refer on that you trust, I think, is a good thing to have as a house healer. Neil, you're unmuted there, and sorry, I did cut across you.
That's okay. I was just going to say, I mean, it was probably last year. I helped a woman not too far away from where I'm living. She had, and I was totally shocked because she had 3 attachments within her auric field, which I found with children, but she'd had them for 30 years. And when I first come across this, I was a bit gobsmacked, I suppose. I thought, you must have noticed something going on in your life. And I worked on her and I worked on her house and I got everything all sorted out. And I sent her results and she was happy. And when I told her about it, she said, yes, I understand what you were saying. So I was quite shocked that she actually knew that all these different things were going on in her life, but she couldn't put a finger on it, what's actually causing it. Well, I suppose at the end of the healing, I said, give it a couple of weeks, she should all settle down. And she sent me an email, and the day that she got her results, she said that her husband, and I felt really bad, but her husband walked into her, and she was sitting in a little outhouse in the back of her house that she hadn't sat in forever, I don't think. She sat there and she watched these solar lights come onto this little tree that she had. And it's the first time they come on in 3 years. And she said her husband walked into where she was sitting and told her that he was leaving her, had enough, and he was off. And I thought, oh my God, what have I done? And she said, oh, don't worry about it, because like I was expecting it anyway. It's better off out the door. I'd rather him not be here. So I thought, well, that's not so bad. But I mean, she sort of accepted that she had attachment. She just did. And I thought, well, obviously, when I started working on this one, I was quite surprised that she reacted the way she did. And I thought at the end of the day, from what I can see, it's something that she just is rolling on with. And she'll go off to somewhere else and she will say, oh, I've had this person work on my place, that person work on my place, and they can't fix it. How about you? So I
But Neil,
don't
we did discuss
go
this,
away.
didn't we? When we talked about her first role, I said she's going to do this because you can tell the more you work with these people, you think, oh, okay. As Emma said, that there's you can almost feel that energy. So don't take
Yeah,
it personally. It's never you half the time.
no,
It's trying to really help someone.
no, yeah, but I mean, done what I could, so I can only leave it with her and move on.
Well, and sometimes it's hard to move on because they keep reaching back out with emails. So kind of doing that, kind of final piece, and it's really hard because I think house healers in general are a compassionate lot,
Yes,
probably empathic in our the way that we kind of navigate the world, and we feel really, we feel deeply about somebody else's situation, and it's hard sometimes to kind of draw that line and say, no, I'm not the droid you're looking for. I'm not the house healer you're looking for. You need to move on. I think it's really tough because they in some ways suck us in because we're empathic.
yeah.
But I think it's really important for our own health and well-being to be able to draw those lines.
I think what I'll probably do is just drop her an email and let her know that I'll be thinking of her, and every now and then I'll look up and try and have a look, see if there is anything else bothering her. But you can only do so much.
Yeah, exactly.
So I won't leave it alone. Because I know, I mean, I'm looking at a drawing here which I've done for her, and she had spirit water veins in there that I calculated. There's a -7 in one or two of them, and they were crisscrossing all over the place. So I know that she's had something going on. And I did tell her that I'd give us a couple of weeks and see how things go. Just let things roll on. But it's usually about 3 or 4 days, and she'll be back at me. He's been moving my glasses around again. So you think you didn't move them?
Amy.
I was just going to say, it might be worth just checking in that she hasn't kind of connected into you chord wise.
Yeah, no.
Um,
I'm usually pretty good because I do my own tuning in before I start all of this malarkey. So I don't think I would collect any attachments from her.
yeah. And also, I sometimes it might sound a bit unprofessional, but I would leave replying to the email longer and longer and longer and longer. And then they eventually stop emailing us regularly. So that lady, for example, because initially I was like, right, I'll reply to that straight away. And then they reply back to you straight away. And you're like, okay. So just maybe leave it longer and longer before you reply back. I don't know.
She's got a ticket.
That's a great strategy.
Yeah.
She's got a
Not very
ticket.
professional, I know, and I'm sharing secrets. But sometimes it's the only way to kindly break the kind of the way that it's all happening. So I don't know.
I don't think that's unprofessional, Amy. I think that's very sensible because some people are they're just attention seeking, and that's
Yeah.
fine. If there's a real problem, you're there for them and you want to help. I mean, I've had people that call me all sorts of weird times to want help, and you think, okay, there's something seriously here. But when you suddenly think, oh, they just want to be pen pals, do they? You're beginning to wonder. They just need attention. So I think it's actually good because if they are going to go and find somewhere else, it's important that they realize, okay, that's not where I need to go. I need to go somewhere else. And maybe one day they'll find who they're meant to speak to.
Yeah.
I don't think it's unprofessional. I think it's just very, very crafty.
Crafty. Yes, I'll take that word.
Well, it signals
That's right.
something. It signals something, and I think that's important. Um, And I think before we kind of move on to if anybody's got other difficult client situations that we can dig into to share, that would be great. But I just wanted to say that sometimes somebody could have like mental health issues and still have geopathic stress or a spirit or whatnot. And I think in some ways, I think I've probably come across this more in my paranormal mediumship work than I have in my house healing work. But very often, I would have a client that was clearly, as mad as a box of frogs, but actually had an active spirit there as well. And so I got used to being able to, kind of accept their mental health conditions, but just focus on the kind of the spirit side of things. And like it's funny because I kind of debrief with my husband, and he'd be like, "Oh, that person, don't work with that person. They're just mad." And I'm like, "Yeah, but they're mad, but they have a spirit, and it is impacting them." So that's that's the work that I want to do with them. So I think, just something to be aware of, that, we could have a crazy client, but actually they do have things that we can help them with. Jan.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I think we all do this anyway, but it feels really important to me that when someone comes to us, they may have various issues that are being put forward, and that just having that basic thing of like doing the basics and going seeing a doctor and us really protecting ourselves. And I think as part of the network, having that sort of, guidance in place so that we know that we're not answering, and we're also not stranding someone who's in distress who another sort of body might be able to help.
That
Joe, I had like
reframing is really
sorry,
important. Sorry, Melanie, go on.
no, Michael, sorry. One of the very first ones that Adrian gave me years ago, because he gets very busy and he goes, "Oh, would you do this one?" And we nicknamed her Special K in the end because she was very special and very K. And but everything you did was wrong. And it turned out that I mean, this woman had serious mental issues, and she was literally, like you were saying earlier on, people were taking advantage of her, and she was paying all these people all this money, and the real problem was her. And she even started emailing my husband when I was away. My aunt died. I had to go look after my aunt. And I said, I'll be back, and she was literally bothering my husband for about a week. And so in the end, I decided I couldn't deal with this woman and she wouldn't go and see anyone. So I contacted someone locally where she was and sent her the emails that she was sending me and said, I'm just worried about her mental health. And they said she was on their radar and they dealt with her. And I felt dreadful, awful doing that. But at the same time, I think she was 80 something, and she hadn't eaten, she claimed, for 5 months. That's just not true. She was weighed 4 stone and everyone was against her and all these evil spirits were trying. I'd cleared her house. There was nothing in there. It was all her. But in the end, they said to her, no, we know who you're talking about. We've had problems with this lady before. And so I thought, I can't do anything else. We're in a different country. And they dealt with her. And she got the kind of mental health that she really did need. And I felt dreadful for that afterwards. I kind of thought, what earth else could I have done? She literally was bombarding us with email, and Adrian. She's writing to Adrian as well every single day. So you have to sometimes say, okay, this isn't something I can deal with, like you say, with ethics. You have to pass it on to someone else.
Well, and it's even bigger than ethics because there's legislation. I don't know if I'm not sure if we have the same legislation here in Canada, but there's, vulnerable adult protection legislation, child protection legislation, and every citizen has a responsibility to report if they have a concern. So I think it goes beyond ethics. I think there is a legal responsibility if we feel that the person is vulnerable, and obviously we're not trained or certified to be able to deal with that. So passing it on, I think, is the right thing to do.
Mm. It was difficult because I felt dreadful, but at the same time, you think if this even a fraction of what you're telling me is true, you're going to die, and there's nothing I can do. I can lift all the geopathic stress and everything. You're not going to get any
Yeah,
better.
yeah.
So it's difficult. And Tabitha, sorry, darling. Thanks, Dawn.
Sorry, just unmuting. Yeah, I think when I've had occasion with clients when I felt like it's just time to wrap things up, it's awkward, but I think sometimes it's better to just kind of do that quite formally and just once and for all, just say, I think this is as far as we can take it, or you seem to have, moved forward or something. I'm trying to think of an example now, but I can't. But that's quite good, because then in myself, I know that that's kind of dealt with. If you feel like you're seeing somebody you don't, they're not really doing the work, or there's something that just doesn't feel right anymore, they will get that as well. I've felt that it's better to just sort of try to address it as authentically as possible. And then, then I know that I've dealt with it, I've said everything I need to say, and in an open way that they can come back, and might be a couple of emails or something like that. But then also then they can move on as well. They can kind of think, oh, that's the end of that kind of thing. So it's not like I'm just their email and I'll try and avoid them, or because that would be sort of weighing on me that I haven't dealt with it for myself. That feels like I haven't dealt with it properly, and I need to just be authentic and open with them, so that, if it's not working anymore and that's what feels right for me, I have to say it really, and then they're free to move on as well and think about, and it is difficult because you feel like people are kind of in your care, but very occasionally it's for some reason isn't working anymore, and yeah, it's just good just to get to move on, but also like Melanie was saying, not to leave people stranded. You can always signpost people, or if I've got colleagues I know can deal with that particular thing, or I can mention other things that can help them as well, whether they take that up, they may or may not. But yeah, just for me, I feel that for me is like a boundary where things feel like they're not right, then it's just better to address it with the person, be totally honest and open with them about it. Because it's a relationship, it's a client relationship, but I think the same with my own relationships. I guess I like to keep the communication open and honest, and if things aren't working, it's the same thing. It's almost, that's not like a breakup, but it's like it has to be out in the open and for them to manage it as well, because if they're emailing you and you're kind of thinking, oh, I don't really want to deal with that person or something, then that somehow they're picking up on that, and that's just not right. So that's, that's happened really rarely. It's a couple, maybe 2 or 3 times that I've had to address something and thought that was uncomfortable, but I've always really sat and thought about it for days or even weeks, and it's the right thing to do. And then it just is the right thing, when you've thought about it properly, dealing with that person politely, respectfully, with kindness, then it usually works out for the best. And yeah, I remember when I was in my 20s and I was seeing a woman, I think it was osteopathy, where she was helping because I had migraines, really bad migraine headaches. And it did help me to see her, because with the migraine, I'd get so tight, And then one day she said to me, I'm not going to see you anymore because I don't feel I'm helping you with this problem, and you need to get to the root cause, and I'm not getting to it. And I was quite hurt. I think I went home and cried because she would look after me and help my headaches. But that led me on to other things, to actually resolving my headaches. So it's like that. It's like being cruel to be kind, but just being very open and honest and making it a formal boundary, like this is over. And that's, and it's up to we're all really self-responsible, and it's like giving them that responsibility to like, where are you going to take your journey next? It's in your hands. And I think if people are really vulnerable, like you say, and you're dealing with things where you don't know what's going on mentally with people, and you need to get other people involved in that kind of thing, which thankfully I've not had to deal with. But otherwise it's yeah, for me, I've had to have those kind of endings, and for them as well, so that they know what's going on and we all know where we are, if that makes sense.
It does make a lot of sense, and it goes back to that boundary piece. And I often wonder whether, if we struggle with boundaries in our professional life, do we equally struggle with boundary setting in our personal life as well? Is this just kind of a feature of us that we bring through to our professional practice as well? So does it give us an opportunity to look at us in holistically in all of the different relationships that we have personally and professionally? Because maybe it is something that we need to develop a better way of setting healthy boundaries for ourselves. Melanie.
Sorry, Dawn. I'm a tarot reader. I've been reading tarot for over 50 years, and I know that Blossom does as well. And it's very similar, that, isn't it, Blossom? When you get some people who just want you to tell them everything. They'll come for a reading and they'll just want you to tell them what to have for dinner, practically. And you have to say, actually, no, that's as much as I can help you. Or you can only come every, it's only good for 6 months. So come back in 6 months. You have to be, I mean, I don't know if you want to share something as well, Blossom, because I've had this so many times.
What I often had was that they come with the same question over and over again, once a month, but the same question basically. That is what and then, okay, it's always the same answer. We're always going to have the same answer because you're not changing anything, right? I'm doing this reading, and after I had that for quite a while, I actually stopped reading tarot for about 2 or 3 years because I thought at some point, well, I'm not helping anyone if this keeps happening all the time. And now I just changed because at that point I took also everybody because I wanted to do readings and I wanted to get as many clients as possible. And I wanted to, yeah, I just wanted to have a bit of a business. And now I'm very specific with what kind of readings I even offer. It's very specifically on my homepage. I do not have many clients though, but at least it sorts out because I don't, for example, don't do readings like when will I find Mr. Right or something like that. I don't do that. And yeah. So yeah, this constantly the same question, and then I can or even financial readings or things like that, or health issues where I always say, well, I can't do anything. I can't do anything. It doesn't matter if it's mental health or physical health. For that, there are other people, right? But a lot of people go to tarot readers for that.
We do. It's interesting what Joe was saying about also about supporting people, like you're saying, Blossom. That you can, I mean, you can give them all the exercises to do, and closing their aura, and protection, and all the things which I always do when they first come. So they've got something, but you have to empower them enough to do something themselves. It's like
I
we
have,
do this.
yeah, sorry. I have actually for when somebody gets a house healing or a personal energy field healing or Reiki, then I give out a handout, right, with exercises specifically. So it's actually quite a lot, but it's at least their first step into, okay, I take care. I'm happy to do it like one time. We do the big clean, and from now on, it's in your hands, basically.
Thanks for that, for kicking us off there, Neil. It ended up a really great discussion that, I think many of us could recognize maybe some of these things in our own clients, whether they're house healing or others. So thanks for kicking us off. I'm going to call on Amy because I know yesterday we had a conversation about a little tricky kind of client situation, and I wonder whether you feel comfortable in kind of sharing a little bit about that situation.
Which client was I talking to you about?
I think it was the healing client, the personal healing client. He was coming with cancer.
Oh yeah. What aspect do you want me to discuss that with?
I think if I remember correctly, it was the detail of things that he wanted you to look into. If I remember correctly?
Yeah, I wasn't sure which aspect to discuss of all the one that we spoke
Well,
about. Yeah.
and whatever the trickiness is, you know better than I. So
Well,
share what you want.
okay, thank you. The thing I have is that his brother, who is the one that kind of sought me out, if you like, and we had a chat first. He's in America and he's a health coach, and his brother is in London and he has prostate cancer, and he's in his late 60s, and it's not aggressive from what I understand. He's just had the scans and things done. So, but I've been very clear. The first thing I've said to both brothers is, that I can't cure cancer, because I think I have to be quite clear about that with some people. And I've said, but what I can help you to do is get your body into the best place that it can be to deal with whatever you choose to do. And he's got two options of treatment that he's deciding on. But he's asked me to check lots of different supplements that I don't particularly know a lot about, which I'm kind of now, it's whether I do that or whether I say that's not my field, and also the spikes within the COVID jab, things like that his brother is adamant that's what's caused it. So I kind of having to tread carefully, because I'm like you guys. I'm a healer in the respect that I dowse, and the pendulum tells me what I need to know, and I've researched, and I'm always learning and looking at all sorts of different things, but I don't know everything. And they come to you thinking that you will be able to tell them everything. This guy, he in terms of boundaries, he rang me on Friday, and with his results for his scan, but it was Friday kind of late. I think it's about 5:30. There was not even that. It was hello, and boom, off he went. Not is this the right time? Is this okay to talk to you? He wanted to tell me about his results, the scans, and then he said, can you tell me what to take to help if I decide to go down the hormone therapy? What do I take? And I immediately kind of just set the boundary of, well, I will have to look that up and see if there's anything I can help you with there. I will be dowsing on it rather than engage in conversation, and sort of, because it was just tricky in that I understand, and especially with cancer, he wants the answers and he wants them now. And his brother seems to have told him that I can give those answers, and I've never ever given that impression that I'm a So I guess it's making them understand that I know what I know, but I'm not a qualified nutritionist. I'm not a qualified herbalist or homeopathic therapist, but I know what I've picked up along the way. So I guess that's the trickiness that I'm having. It's how deep do I go with it? And because obviously I want to help him also. That's my main aim. So that's where I'm at.
Thank you for sharing that. And when you were talking, yesterday about that situation, what was coming up for me was that sense of responsibility about what should I do what should I do next? That kind of decision-making piece, which I think is, it's a heavy responsibility to bear. And is it your responsibility to bear that as well? And I think that's a really tricky one. And I've had clients in the past. The one issue that came up for them was kind of relationship, issues, and should I leave him? Douse on that, and it was just such a tricky thing to navigate through. Obviously, I didn't, and I wouldn't, but it was just so hard because she was wanting just somebody to tell her what to do.
Yeah, I get asked that question sometimes, and fortunately, my dowser, I always say, I don't think I can dowse that question. Let's just ask, can I ask the question? And I always get no.
Yeah.
Then they go, okay. So but Yeah, I think what helped me talking through with you yesterday was reminding me of the dowsing protocol, because he's thrown everything at me, quite rightly, and because that's what I'm there to listen to, and because of the nature of what he's come for, and it's kind of immediate because he's going to be starting treatment any day, and so I'd kind of gone, even though I know not to, I'd kind of gone out there in a like, oh my God, what do I do? This bit first, this bit first, this bit. And then, you help me to remind me of going through the checklist, going through the protocol. What's the most important thing to look at for him right now? And so I started more work on him today in a much calmer place. So thank you for listening to me yesterday. It was very helpful.
I'm glad I could help, and a good learning for us all about going back to the process, and not being scattered sometimes by the requests of our clients. A couple of hands up. I think, who was first? Was it Joe? Were you first with your hand up?
I think so, but I don't mind. I want to hear Tabitha's as well. I think I was just going to share, because I understand where Amy's coming from. And I had a thing last year where someone asked me, it was a family member who was in another country, who was was really, yeah, a whole load of stuff that I don't know anything about. And I remember thinking, whoa, you're getting in touch with me because this person won't take their meds in this other place. And it really was a sort of like, oh gosh, let's zoom right out. Can I dance about this? Letting the client know that actually I'm not 100% accurate. I try, and things change every minute, and that they may not get the answers they want. And that it was really, I guess, the sort of about me centering myself as to how I come in, and distancing when someone comes in with a beautiful detail of the family story, which is so, yeah, it's so compulsive. And in the end, we had some nice chats about it, just going, yeah, who knows what's going to happen and what answers I'll get. All I can do is ask. And she was happy to go ahead on that basis. And we ended up getting some information that actually the medicine this person was taking was making their whole body itch, which helped her understand why and set a whole load of other things in motion. And so that was really, I'm due to check in again with them again, but that was really nice to sort of go, okay, this is what we've been given. Yeah, because I really am not medically qualified. And I did say that so many times.
But it's a good point around setting those expectations, because it actually takes the pressure off you as well. Setting those expectations up front, and not promising something that you can't promise.
And the other thing is that, I don't know, you guys might not believe the same belief that I have, in that, sometimes that's our, for want of a better word, our journey of something that we have to go through, and that we've chosen it up on our soul path. And that's really, I never say that to my clients unless they're kind of that, they suggest that they already think that, because obviously that's a big thing to say. So then you have if this person passes away because of the cancer, it's then not taking that on, isn't it? That I didn't do enough. I didn't do, so I'm clear with myself in this case, especially about what I'm here to do, if you like, and what I can accomplish. I can't take cancer away, but I can help the body, I hope. That's my aim. So, and I'm really clear setting that to myself, so that I don't feel that awfulness if the worst happens, so, because that's not good for any of us to take on.
Good reminder. Tabitha.
Oh yeah. So there's loads now, because it's been other interesting things said. So yeah, let's not feel like inadequate about what, when we have clients that want to know it all like that, especially if we've got someone that's got medical and then they want the other answers and the vitamins, the supplements, all of that. That's why it's really good to have people that you can refer to. And I do that sometimes straight off the bat if I get somebody. For example, I used to get inquiries for somebody would have like a rash or something. And so first thing, have you seen a doctor about it? What have they said? Have you had it looked at? If yes, and it's still a mystery, I'd refer them to somebody who does kinesiology, which is specifically testing to find out what that actually is, which I don't do. I do kinesiology, but I don't do specific allergy testing. So I'd refer, because it's like, well, I'm not going to be able to help them. If they literally want to know what's causing their skin condition, that's not what I do. So that was really helpful. I refer people to a colleague. And then yeah, because then we're meeting expectations for people. Like, well, Dawn's now just said it's what you can and cannot do from them from the start. So if there's something you can't do, they know they need to find that somewhere else. They're not going to be sort of trying to, they're going to know that you can't help them and what you can help them with. And I've written down this about self-responsibility as well. Yeah, I think it's really tricky when people are asking you to dowse for answers on things. Like I don't do that at all. What I do is I try and hand it back to the person and say that in this situation, you're the one who really knows what you need. And then I'll say, we can look into that together, and I can try and help you find that within yourself. Which is, is part of the session, is helping people to come to their own decisions about things, and really giving them that self-responsibility and being really, really clear about that as well. Because that's empowering at the end of the day as well, that it's things are their choice, and that some people don't even realize they have a choice maybe to start off with, but to give them the power, if that's your choice, you could make that choice. And then, there's lots of things you can do with looking at, say, if you do this or you don't do that, what's life going to be like in 5 years? There's ways of getting people to think about it and what the scenarios might be if you do this or you do that, what the pros and cons are and things, and drawing out their own wisdom ultimately as well. And I think it's because I do Reiki as well, Amy. It's like kinesiology and Reiki. I used to do like full Reiki healing as well in sessions when I worked like in clinic setting, and I've helped people with that, and it's like it's such a lovely thing as well, because you can obviously help people into death with Reiki as well. So it's not about, like you say, it's not our responsibility to save people or to cure them. But what I would always say to people is like, hello, you okay? Sorry, I've got a very loud cat coming. I don't know if you can hear her. You okay? You've been sleeping? Gosh, she's a bit confused. Good girl. Sorry. So it's like when with people, it's like, it's really good to say that as well with expectations. Like, I can't cure that, but we can like really help your body's own healing process to kick in, to give it the best chance or something like that. So that there is a bit of hope in a way, without giving a false expectation or saying, healing cures and I'm a healer, and of course it's their body doing the healing and everything, but just helping give them a boost of energy. But Reiki does help, and I've had some tricky situations with people that have come to me as a last resort when they're quite ill with cancer. And I've had to weigh it up kind of with them as well, and what their requirements are. And there's a couple of people that I helped when I was in clinic until they couldn't see me anymore, basically, and they'd come to see me, and that was an absolute honor. And it's still like such a massive benefit to help people with all therapies that we do, to help people to make things more comfortable and that kind of thing. I'm going off piece now. But to remembering people to give them that spark, that their body, you can get them in a good place, that their self-healing can kick in and give them the best go of it as well, I think. That's probably just saying that to myself, because I think when I started, I was really scared of like not calling myself a healer and making sure that I wasn't curing anyone. And I sort of give them a talk, and then you see people go, "Oh no," you were like, "Yeah, I can't do this and I can't do that." It's like, well, you can say, "Well, I can help you along with this," and obviously we can't say we can cure things, but you can give your body the best chance, and it's your heal, it's your body that's going to be, yeah, doing the work. If that makes sense.
Thank you for that. Lots of words of wisdom in your what you've just shared with us there, and I think all of the conversation that we've had this morning. There's been so many words of wisdom that have been shared by multiple people. It just reinforces to me the importance of that kind of consultation, that contracting piece, and also the debrief and kind of the end piece. Very often we think the meat and potatoes of the process is always the assessment and the harmonization. That's where all the fun happens. But actually, those two bookend pieces are so critical, I think, for clients, whether that's personal health or house healing. I think they're really critical pieces that set us up for success when we do it well. A couple of minutes just before we end, I'd love to make sure that I just check in on Susan, Emily, and Chris. We haven't heard from you this morning, so I just want to make sure that you get an opportunity to speak, should you wish to. No pressure.
Please. Yeah. Sorry, I don't know where the hand is.
A physical hand's good as well. Chris, I saw you on mute.
No, I'm happy. I'm happy with what I've heard today. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, I think we're probably
May I ask,
yes, Susan.
may I ask a question? Sorry.
Yes, of course.
I've just literally arrived in this new house. Are there any drawbacks or things to watch out for if one is house healing one's own new home?
I That's a great question. I'm just trying to think of drawbacks. I actually think that, as house healers, we should be, tending to our own environments first and foremost.
Can I
And
ask a question, Dawn?
yeah,
Did you not do that with Tim as part of your course? Because I trained with Tim as well, and you had to heal your own. You had to do work on your own
Yes,
house.
I have worked on my own house, but I'm just wondering if there's any drawback to actually in a new house where I've never lived before, and I don't know if there's going to be problems or not, but it's just it was easy. It was easier when we were still on the course because we could always ask.
yeah.
But now I'm sort of basically finished the course, and it's something that sort of occurred to me that I'm not sure about how to not to react, but I'm not sure always what actions to take or what questions to ask when it's my own environment, but it's probably referring to past experience of people who lived here before. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and I would perhaps offer some advice. First and foremost, expect that there's psychic junk left in your space, and take an opportunity to clear that for sure, because there's no doubt in my mind that when people move out, they leave their psychic debris behind. I also think building the relationship up with the house, connecting into the, spirit of the home, and introducing yourself and having that kind of, starting that relationship piece before you even attempt to say, is there any underground water? Is there this? I think you've got to put your bits where they need to go, clear the energy, make that relationship with the space, and then spend time in the space to to feel out the energy, really become aware of how do you feel when you walk from one room into another room. Does that kind of give you some insight into things that might be cleared? So really drop into your body and use that as a really good antenna as as you get used to the space and the space gets used to you. And then you can look at maybe going through the checklist to see if there's any specific issues that you do need to address. But I think you got to, it's like when you move in to a new house, and what did they say, don't do anything to the garden for 12 months. See what flowers first. I think there's a similar approach to a new home as well. That's just my thoughts. Anybody got any words of wisdom for Susan?
I agree with the spirit of the place and the spirit of the land as well, because it doesn't know you. The spirit of the house and the spirit of the place, the land around it. I mean, we moved into a ruin that hadn't been lived in for over 40 years. And it didn't even have running water, electricity, or sewage or anything. There was nothing here at all. And one of the first things I did was went into the garden and talked to the land. And I gave it offerings and talked to it, because we're druids, so we do this kind of weird stuff anyway. But I was talking to the land, and everything started to happen without me having to do anything. It was almost like it had been ignored for so long, or it hadn't been loved for so long. And then suddenly all these other things started to come, and things would happen in a positive way, which I didn't expect. It taught me an awful lot, because you just think, oh, it's just land, but it's not. And if you love it, it will love you back. I've now got a lovely, after 33 years, I love my house, and I love where we live, but it's taken me a long time to realize that was one of the most important things, that you have to introduce yourself. We don't do that now. We just come in and we shut the door. We think we're the only intelligent thing in the room, or the only conscious thing in the house, and we're not. We definitely are. I mean, if you work with Tim, you'll know about his woman he found. I had Gladys in my old house. I've got Mary in this one. There's always other things. You're not the only one. You're moving in with others, and it's actually being open. And if you've done the course, you're going to be more open than most people to do that. And it's just be friends, be nice, say hello, give it a gift. I say hello to Mary every morning, and she was the one that lived here last. I didn't expect her to be here, and I was talking to her. Then I spoke to my neighbour. He said, "Oh, that's the old lady that used to live there." So you get confirmation in weird ways sometimes, but take it nice and gentle. Take it nice and gentle, and good luck.
Thank you. I did try to introduce myself last night. Well, it's taking time for me to get into any sort of communication anywhere, but I did try to just gently introduce myself to the guardian and the spirit of place and home.
Beautiful. I think that's a great start, and intuitively know what to do, and just be gentle with yourself. It takes time. You don't have to rush into it. It takes time to build a relationship up. It's going to take time for you to unpack and places to put the things where you want them and all of that. So be gentle with yourself.
Thank you.
And on that note, thank you all. I'm always inspired when I come together with the House Healers Network. You fill my cup. So thank you. You remind me that what we're doing is important work, and to keep on doing it.
Thank you too.
Thank you, Dawn. Thanks, everyone. Have a
Thank
good week.
you. Thank
See you
you.
again.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.